Assalamu alaikum. Get to know your Lord. First part of the Right Belief series by Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid. This dynamic literary work of art's main goal is to revive an understanding the names and attributes of Allah. And understanding the name and attributes of Allah will elevate our faith, strengthen us, and keep us steadfast. This wonderful book is now available in an audiobook format and can be found free of charge on YouTube, channel Karim Abu Zaid. Get to know your Lord. You have nothing to lose.
You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Okay, now that way it'll make a little thing to let me know to start there. So, Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulallah. Today we're going to continue with the next chapter of the book, Diluting Wal Bara. We're going to speak about how to incorporate allegiance and disassociation when educating our children, because that's what we focused on for the past 2 weeks. How it's up to the parents. We have to get our priorities back in order. It's up to the parents to incorporate wal bara, allegiance and disassociation into the hearts and minds of the children. Okay, so let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen and let me, I'll put this down so you can, and by the way, the children should be here because the kids are out of school here in America. I want all the children. There will be a quiz tomorrow. Look at me, kids. There will be a quiz tomorrow on this information. So make sure that you have me on the big screen TV at home, watching me on channel Sunnahfollowers. Go to YouTube, turn on channel Sunnahfollowers or type Laila Nasheeba and you'll see yours truly. And I want you guys to watch the PowerPoint on the big screen. And then for the parents, using your cell phone or using your iPad, take screenshots of the PowerPoint and print them out at the end of the class, staple them together, and then paper clip them 2 pages to the page that we're going to cover today, which I'll put up in a second because I can't remember the page number. Okay, but let me put this up. Let's take y'all to this screen, and I'll start with the Zoom room first. The PowerPoint. Hold on. Give me a second. Yeah, I got to have the Zoom room first because I forget I got people in Zoom. Yeah, my students. Here we go. And now I'll come to you guys. Okay, hold on. Can you guys see on D Live? I can see your typing. Just type okay, I'm getting ready to put the thing up. You don't see the PowerPoint. Okay, I didn't put it up yet. Hold on. I'm getting ready to put the PowerPoint up now. Inshallah. Inshallah, you guys on the internet, everybody on all the platforms should see this. Okay. Okay, and these are the pages that we'll be covering today. Pages 286 to 291. Pages 286 of the book to page 291. So make sure you guys take screenshots of the PowerPoint, and this will be the first one that you screenshot. I'm moving this Zoom. Boy, Zoom really gets in the way with their little thing here. Yeah, this will be the first one to screenshot, and then you print them out at the end of the class and staple them together and attach it to page 286 with a safe paper clip. Paper clip it to 286. All right. So we're going to speak about how to implement Wal Bara in education when educating your children. How to implement allegiance and disassociation. And let's see what Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid, how he begins this. He lets us know, again, he defines for us. Sheikh Kareem defines for us what Wal Bara is. He says this principle translates into English to mean allegiance and disassociation. And it's a cornerstone of our faith as Muslims. Why? Because it encapsulates our love for Allah. It encapsulates our love for the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it encapsulates our allegiance to this religion. And it also brings about resentment. The deeper our love grows for Allah and His Prophet and our religion, the greater our resentment and rejection of anything that opposes Allah or opposes the Prophet or opposes our religion, will come. So you'll become a person more apt to disassociate from people of bid'ah, people of innovation. You'll be a person that's most likely to disassociate from women that don't wear hijab, from women that don't practice the religion. You will be more able to divorce and let go of those men who don't pray, who don't practice the religion. And this is important in today's world because so many Muslims have deviated away from traditional Islam. So many Muslims today are not practicing Islam. So many Muslims today are simply Muslim in name only. And it's hard. It's hard to maintain our Islamic identity in this world as a result. They look at people like you and me, women like you and me. I don't cover my face because the Prophet's wives did not cover their face. I keep telling y'all, that's all a myth. You women in the West have been told that the Prophet's wives covered their faces. This is not true. Burqas were never part of the Arabic women's dress code. Arabic women don't dress that way. They never have. They never covered their faces. They wore hoods. And they would pull their hood down over their eyes. Or if they didn't have a hood on, they would wear khimars like I have. And if they wanted to be discreet, they would take their hijab and just put it over their nose when they passed by a man. But they didn't walk around like that. They only did that as protection so that the Quraysh wouldn't know, the enemies wouldn't know who the women were to take them as hostages. Nowhere does Allah command a Muslim woman to cover her face. And as far as wearing gloves, are you crazy? Do you think that the women in the desert walked around with gloves on? None of that. Okay, so subhanallah, the Muslim identity has become distorted today, has become lost today. So when you do see a Muslim woman that look like me, I'm dressed the way Allah commands. I have drawn my khimar. I wear a khimar over my bosom. And I always wear a abaya. And I make sure that I'm nicely dressed because Allah loves beauty. And Allah encourages us to be beautiful like Him. So I make sure that my abaya is clean. It's ironed. And I look attractive for the sake of my Lord. Makeup is not haram. The Prophet's wives wore makeup. You read them right there in all the hadiths about their kohol and henna. Henna, kohol, this is makeup. And that's what I have on. But when you see a Muslim woman like me who knows my identity, I know what's lawful. I know what's unlawful for me. I know what my role is. You will look at me as being strange. Y'all see that hadith? She's strange. She shouldn't look that nice. She should cover her face. She shouldn't show her jewelry. She should not be matching in her clothing. She should be trifling. She should be tacky. So here you can see that's an example as to how the Muslim identity has become distorted. Why? Because we've deviated away from the principles of Wal Bara. Our love is not for Allah and the Prophet as it should be. We don't know anything about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life. Muslims today don't know anything about the companions. They don't know nothing about the female companions and their struggles. They don't know how the women dressed. They don't know that the Prophet's daughters wore beautiful colors. They don't know that Aisha, radiallahu anha, was married in a red plaid dress. They don't know that Aisha's favorite color was pink and red. They don't know that Aisha wore a fur coat made of wolf. You know, they don't know this stuff because we've deviated away from knowing Islam and its truthfulness. So, again, guys, it's important for us to incorporate Wal Bara when teaching our children. Again, Al-Wala refers to having love for Allah and His Messenger. And it's more than just allegiance. It's a heartfelt devotion that inspires you as a Muslim to want to make your actions and beliefs pleasing to Allah. Why does Layla look nice? I dress the way I dress because I know Allah loves beauty. And I want to please my Lord. I want to make sure whenever I leave my house, I represent my religion correctly, because there's too many Muslim women that don't. We got the women that's all bagged up. Then we got the women that are loose. So our religion is being misrepresented. So I want to make sure that I look beautiful to my Lord. And I'm going to carry myself with the demeanor my Lord said. I'm going to be strong in my behavior, strong in my voice, intimidating in my mannerisms, so that people will think twice before they think I'm a weakling, or they think that I'm some woman to trifle with. That's another one of the signs of the last hour. Remember, the Prophet said the non-Muslims will lose their fear of you. There was a time in the 60s when I grew up, they feared me. They feared a Muslim woman. They knew no matter where you went in the city, you could go to the projects. They didn't mess with Muslims. They knew, oh, she's a Muslim, leave her alone, because it's going to be repercussions. That fear is gone now. They attack Muslim women all the time now, just like they do the kafir. Because we've lost our identity. And now we pay the cost of that. So, Al-Wala, that love for Allah, it serves as a bond that unites us as a nation. It's supposed to serve as a bond that brings about a sense of community and mutual support. That Al-Wala, that love for Allah, love for the Prophet, love for this religion and each other, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is what shapes our interactions within this community. And it's what helps to establish that brotherhood and sisterhood and solidarity that we're supposed to have. So we have to teach our children Al-Wala as they're growing up in their formative years. And on the other hand, we have to teach them Al-Bara. And what is Al-Bara? It's disassociation. To disassociate from anything that contradicts my religion that contradicts what Allah says, that contradicts what the Prophet said. That's why I grew up as a Muslim kid in America. I never celebrated a birthday, never had a birthday party because my mother instilled in me, our allegiance ain't to you. Who are you? You had nothing to do with your birth, Layla. If Allah didn't want you to be here, you wouldn't have been here. Celebrating your birth, don't nobody worship you. The only one worthy of worship is Allah. So I understood that as a kid when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, never asked for a birthday. And now that I'm in my 60s, could care less. I don't even know how old I am. Yes, I do. I'm 62 years old. I'll be 63 next month. Okay? So, Wal Bara, I'm going to distance myself from anything that stands between my relationship with Allah. Anything that destroys what my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with. Okay? So we have to emphasize this with our children when they're young and teach them to distance ourselves. I distance myself from those Muslims that don't practice. I teach Islam, but I'm not going to hang out with the sisters that don't wear hijab. I'm not going to party with them, hang out with them, because we can all become weak. I'm not going to adapt the practices and ideologies of the Western world. Yeah, I'm an Arab, born and grew up here in America, but I still maintain my Islamic identity. I don't celebrate holidays. I don't celebrate none of this garbage. I don't dress like the Kaffir girls. I don't look like the Kaffir women. I don't act like them. I could care less about them. Okay? We have to maintain that identity, and only way to do it is through implementing Wal Bara. Everybody understand that? And whose job is it? It's your job as a Muslim woman. You sisters, you're supposed to be teaching your children this stuff. Okay? Instead of out there working like a man, trying to be a man. You need to be a woman. You should have married a real man, first of all. If you had married a real man, you wouldn't have to be one. Okay? And to show how important it is for us to educate ourselves of Islam and educate our children. Remember, guys, the very first revelation that was sent to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Iqra. And what does that mean? Read, learn, read, learn. So you have to learn the deen correctly first, and then take what you have learned and share it with your children while they are in their formative years. So, Wal Bara, it emerges as a transformative cornerstone of our faith, guys. Everything we do for Allah. You tell your children, why do you pray? You don't pray to make me and your father happy. You pray to make Allah happy. And by making Allah happy, He in turn will cause me and your father to be proud of you and happy. Y'all understand that? Just like you sisters, you don't wear hijab to please your husband. You wear hijab to please Allah because it's what He commanded. And by pleasing Allah, in turn, He will cause your husband to be pleased with you if he's a righteous man. If he's not a righteous man, he could care less what you do for Allah. Okay? So again, guys, this is what we Muslims have to embrace as a nation, an ummah, the principles of Wal Bara, and then incorporate them into our lives with our children and our family members. And the curriculum in an Islamic educational setting should be designed to cultivate people deeply rooted in their faith while being adept and constructive members of society. Now, this is the only complaint that I have about Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd's book, and I shared this with him. He uses big words like this. He uses United Kingdom English, curriculum, adapt. These words may be too large for American Muslims to understand. So, but I copied it and pasted it here as a means of showing you guys that you can't teach yourself this deen. You got to learn it from somebody else. So I'm going to break it down to you. Okay. What Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd is saying here is this. When you establish an educational system within the home or within the schools, wherever you establish it or whomever you establish it with, the only people that will be able to understand it are, first of all, those people who do believe in Allah. You understand what I'm saying, guys, here? If you're raising your children to believe La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, then they'll be able to grasp the concept of allegiance and disassociation without a problem. But if you're dealing with people that don't believe in Allah, they don't accept the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, none of this is going to make sense to them. Does everybody understand that? But for those of us who do believe in Allah, this principle will help us to grow spiritually the way it's helped you to grow spiritually. It'll also bring about clarity to your life. The same way you guys now, a lot of you understand, if I were to ask you why we don't celebrate birthdays, you know why now. Because it's an disassociation. You're disassociating from Allah. If I were to ask you, why come we don't celebrate Mother's Day? Now you guys know why. It's not an act of worship, but it contradicts our Islamic beliefs. Because Allah teaches us that every day is Mother's Day. Every day is Father's Day. Reverence our parents every day. Not just one day out the year. So this contradicts my belief system. It contradicts our Islamic morals. So I'm going to disassociate from that. Y'all see that? So the same way that you guys can differentiate and have clarity to why we don't do certain things, your children will have that same clarity too, if you implement it with them. Okay? And our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam inspired his companions to have wala, allegiance, and bara, disassociation. You can see it in all the different hadiths, to disassociate from that which will take you away from Allah, to hold close to that which brings you closer to Him. And this is how he was able to develop the first Islamic state of Arabs from all different tribes and different walks of life. Some were slaves, and some were wealthy, and some were poor. How they all came together as one brotherhood, one sisterhood, and they all held on together. Y'all understand that? Listen to this verse of the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, and it has already been revealed to you in this Quran, that when you hear the verses of Allah being denied and made fun of, don't sit with them. This is important. This is important. Again, there'll be more people in hell than in paradise. And the Prophet told us not because they didn't receive the message, because they will have received the message. The reason being is because they reject Allah. They chose to not believe in Him. They chose to not obey Him. We're living in the days of the Ruwaybida. We're living in the days of the fitan that the prophet said that would lead up to the war against Islam. All of those things that the prophet said would happen are already happening. Homosexuality, fornication, adultery, drugs, making things that Allah made unlawful, lawful, and vice versa. The trust, the amana being violated in the masajids, the amana violated with each other. Okay? All of that is happening. And also people dividing into sets and groups. Some of those sets, some of those groups making fun of others. Here Allah is telling us that we don't sit in the company of people who do sin. We don't sit in the company of people who are taking the words of Allah, twisting them around to mean things that they don't mean, or people who make fun of our way of life, who mock the words of Allah. We're not supposed to be in that company. But look at YouTube. Look at these Muslim channels that have millions of followers. And what do they do on those channels? They spend most of their time debating with the Kafirs, debating with the Christians. And they're making fun of our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, calling him bad names. Or other channels where you have Muslims fighting each other, Muslims arguing with each other, twisting the words of the Quran around, denying the qadr of Allah, rejecting the hadiths, and all this argument and all this. And they got all these people listening in just so they can get the subscribers and the views and the money. Are these people showing Wal Bara? We have to understand as Muslims that when we encounter situations wherein Allah's limits are being violated, we're supposed to consciously remove ourselves from those environments. But how many of us are doing that? We like the drama. We love the drama. Remember, the human soul is criminal by nature. The human soul is attracted to what's bad and dirty. But even still, Allah commands us and he guides us as to how to react when we find ourselves in situations where Allah's laws and revelations are being made fun of or denied. How many of us teach our children in their formative years to not sit in the presence of that crap? Okay? So, as Muslims, every day of our life is spent practicing al-wala and wal-bara. Either we're showing allegiance to Allah, allegiance to his religion, to each other, to the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or we're disassociating from that which stands in the way of those things. So that's why it's important for us to implement this at home with the kids. And again, I cannot reiterate enough to you sisters, it falls upon you women. Now that you sisters have been joining my classes, you guys understand what allegiance and disassociation is. You should be sharing all of this with your children right now while they're young, teaching them these principles, teaching them to have love for Allah, love for the religion of Islam. Tell them why we don't celebrate birthdays. Tell them why we don't do Mother's Day, Father's Day. Tell them what it's violating. It ain't about the history. Like some of these idiot brothers put on, oh, the history of Halloween. Oh, man, you don't know the history of nothing. It's simply not a part of our culture. It's showing disallegiance to the religion of Islam. It's not a part of our culture. Our culture is Islam. We don't do that. We distance ourselves from anything that's not a part of our way of life. Anything that contradicts what Allah says. Anything that contradicts what the Prophet did. Just keep it real with them like that. That's how my mother did me when I was growing up. And that's why I never aspired for any of these non-Muslim holidays. And I was born and raised in the USA, boss daddy. All right. Okay, I'm going to stop right here.